Welcome to Talent Talks by Be Impact, the podcast where we speak with leaders across professional services, technology, and consulting about what it really takes to attract, grow, and retain top talent. I'm your host, Julian Buschmaß, the CEO and co-founder of Be Impact. And our software enables employees to teach what they've learned to teams and nonprofits and startups, because we believe teaching is not only the best way to learn, it's also the best way to create, or as we say, to be impact. And in each episode, we explore how firms are rethinking development, leadership, and culture, and what it takes to build teams that stay and thrive. And today, I'm joined by Ivan Gladkow, Head of Enterprise Sector at SPS in the UK and Ireland. And what stood out to me about Ivan's story is how early he was thrown into the leadership game, managing teams before he had ever had any formal management training, and how much that shaped his belief that people grow fastest when they are trusted, when they're coached and stretched in the real world. And Ivan's great guest for today's show because he spent nearly 2 decades turning strategy into execution, running large P&Ls, leading digital and operational transformation, and mentoring people across very different backgrounds. And he's also seeing firsthand how leadership, culture, and talent are being reshaped by automation and AI in large, complex organizations. And today, as always, will be a relaxed, practical conversation, and we will cover 4 parts: culture, employee development in the AI transition, purpose and impact, and then a quick fire at the end. So, Ivan, to get us started, tell us a little bit about your journey to where you are now, and maybe what's the one line of your role today, and what are you focused on this year?
Sure. Hi. Thanks for inviting me along. So a bit about me. I'm from a large family. I'm one of 5 children, a multicultural background with a Russian father and a British mother. Again, heavily into sports and big friendship groups and so on and so forth. I started out my career as a lot of people did, following university on a graduate scheme. I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do, so this scheme enabled me to experience different types of role in a relatively safe environment, trying different positions in different locations, which was fantastic. So I got great exposure from day one, and with a lot of training and investment in me and us as graduates. I started out, as Julia mentioned earlier, I started out in a management role, a team leader role, from as soon as I finished university. So I was thrown in the deep end and was supported with managers and leaders, but not with formal training before getting to know a team and managing them. So that was certainly a steep learning curve. And then again, my development and learning continued in that type of trajectory. So I was eager to learn as much as possible and learn from other people. And I think that's standing me in good stead for getting me to where I am today. In terms of one-liner of what I do, I suppose the easiest way is I run or manage a business on behalf of a business. All aspects that you would think of running a business.
Fantastic. And what's the focus in 2026?
Growth, retention, and client satisfaction are all jostling for position as the most important strategic objective.
Fantastic. And then let's move right into your company culture, or the way that you see the business. When you think about your career or the teams that you manage, what kind of behaviors do you value as a leader within your teams, within the people that you're working with? What is important to you, essentially?
Sure, there's lots of things that are important, but I suppose the thing that sticks out is people that are willing to learn, willing to try new things, to adapt to change, as all environments are ever changing. So those people who are saying, yes, I'll take on that new challenge, I'll roll with the punches, I will happily learn more and do new things, seem to be the people that are most successful along the way. And that's regardless of the different levels of people that I've led over the years.
Now, culture is also always a bit not necessarily defined by what's written in the employee book let's say, or on the website. It's more like what's rewarded on a day to day, and how does this challenge. What are the small things or the big things that are informally rewarded in your teams that you're working with? Beyond, like, might be similar to what you just said, but how does that show up in on a day to day, essentially?
Sure, and I totally agree. I think companies have a published mission statement or culture, say this is how we operate, but then really working for the organization is you really see what it's like. Our organization, which I'm thankful to be part of, is very people orientated, and people, it's easy for people to say that, but it's only when you experience it. It is about doing the right thing and people being rewarded. And I'm talking about rewarding being a pat on the back and a well done. Then there's more formal recognition of awards and promotions and money, but just people acknowledging, you're right, that is the right thing to do. This is how we should treat this person, or this is what we should do for the customer. So it seems quite basic and simple, but doing the right thing is the culture within our organization. And I think we're able to have a small company culture in a large organization. And it really feels like that. It feels like a small organization.
And you, as a senior leader, what do you do personally, maybe, to motivate your peers or to set the right tone for how people show up at work? Is there some small rituals that you have, or some certain characteristic that you be like, okay, this is how I'm getting this done?
I try to remember what it was like when I was just starting out in my career, and it seems quite moralistic in terms of treat others how you wish to be treated. And you weren't always treated in the way that you wanted to be treated. But now, if you're in a position of power or responsibility, you have a chance to do the right thing. And therefore, treating people how you want to be treated is, I think, the number one thing I try to put into everything I do when I turn up. I would like to be told I'm right. I would like to be told, well, you could have done that a bit better. Fine, I would love to hear feedback. So trying, as a concept, just trying to treat people fairly, but treating people how I wish to be treated seems to be appreciated by others.
Makes a lot of sense. On that
simple
end.
things, maybe simple concepts that hopefully work.
You've also been leading teams then for a long time, I guess, in different sizes and in different shapes there. How do you spot a high performer early? What do they do differently in their first 6 to 12 months?
I think, again, this is difficult when we're talking about different levels of team, because at the most basic level, teams are assessed into a kind of a quantity and qualitative approach to their outputs, which is quite simplistic. Whereas as you get more senior, I think people are judged on their results rather than how they do the detail of achieving them. So that's quite difficult to do. But across the board, achieving their number one objective of doing their job, whatever that may well be. So you've got to do that job well, first of all, but then it's what you do on top of that. It's asking for more, it's doing more, it's wanting to learn about your boss's job or your boss's boss's job. It's wanting to learn and being open to hearing about things. Equally, feedback as well. Just waiting for a pat on the back saying you've done really well, great. But I also want someone to be picky and tell me, right, you're happy with my work. What else could I do, though, to be even better? Pushing that envelope, if you like. They're the people that at any level, when they're showing those type of signs, that's what I'm looking out for and saying, right, okay, that's one to watch.
Okay, fantastic. And now we've identified somebody to watch, and they're doing great in their current roles, and now they climbing up the ladder, as you might want to say, especially from junior to maybe more senior roles. Where do you see the biggest danger, or not necessarily danger, but where are people mostly challenged when it comes to stepping up, essentially, in their roles?
Yeah, that's a good one. It's tough to answer, but throughout my career, watching these rising stars, these high performers, it's self-awareness is a really, really important thing to have, because it opens up so many other doors for development and progression. Knowing where you are, asking for feedback, understanding what the perception of you is, what the reality is, what you think you're good at, identifying those blind spots. Those are
Yeah.
really key, because you're not always as good at something as you think you are unless
Hmm.
everybody else agrees that you're good at it. So being self-aware and aware of people's perception of you is really important, especially for high flyers who seem to progress very quickly. You can suddenly find yourself out of depth. And if you are not performing, you need to know about that so that you can do something about it. So, yes, probably.
No. Yeah, the self-awareness. I like that. And it's basically opening up yourself to grow and to develop and accepting that you're probably not just there yet, ever.
Absolutely. And
Essentially.
even when you're there on a number of different levels or capacities or different areas, you can always do
Yeah.
a bit better. So if you're doing very well at generally everything, what about the next step? You can do a little bit better and learn from others, so not to be closed off. Learning doesn't finish. I'm 44 and in a relatively senior role, and learning doesn't finish here. You discover new
Yeah.
things all of the time.
In 2026, is there something that changed from the employee perspective, what they're wanting from their employers?
2026, maybe 2026, or more recent in the last couple of years, there seems to be a shift, not just on salaries. People always want more money, and that's fine, that's understandable. But working environment, the culture, flexibility with work, the hybrid working is definitely the mega trend that people are talking about and affects business. But these, what used to be ancillary perks or benefits, seem to be quite core to people now. The value of the
Hmm.
organisation, the how that you do things seems to be very important to people. People want to know they're working for an employer who care about them and or care about their customers or what have you, or their impact on society. And I think that's where people are kind of shifting, and why people like tech firms as well, because they're a bit more flexible and they want to benefit the community. So I think there's a shift over the last couple of years that people are looking for
Yeah.
more in their employer.
And if you could change one thing about how people experience work in your organization today, what would that be and why?
Flexibility remains a conversation because of COVID and the hangover of COVID, where everybody was able to work from home within reason, work from home permanently, and there is a shift in a lot of organisations, a lot of industries, back to the office. Whatever people are experiencing, 5 days a week, 3 days a week, must be Monday and Wednesday. So people are still hanging on to that flexibility and that the benefit of being able to work from home. So that seems to be quite a key area that people are focused on. So I think for 2026, that will continue to be something that people are discussing.
Hmm. And then in our intro conversation, you mentioned that learning by doing, mentoring, and being thrown into responsibility quite early on in your own career. Um, and how that naturally leads maybe to the bigger question for us to discuss today, which is how you help more people get there faster, especially those with huge potential who just need the right structure and practice, which means we can talk a little bit about employee development now. And most firms, they are trying, of course, to help people move faster, but it's also about less time, but then at the same time also higher expectations. What are you guys already doing today to help people learn and grow in when they join your company or as they progress through their career?
Yeah, that's a very broad question, because
Yeah,
learning is so big, and different people require different things and levels,
yeah,
and so on and so forth. Mandatory training that we all have to
yeah,
undertake. And trying to make that fun is a challenge, because we all
yeah.
have to do it. You're told you need to do it.
How formal versus informal is training? When you say you have mandatory training, if you had to give like a percentage to it throughout your employee years, how much of that is formalized and how much is that my own initiative, like the self-awareness we talked earlier about that
Yeah.
says, okay, I would like to get some support there.
Yeah, I mean, the formal forced mandatory training is relatively small in comparison, in
Yeah,
my experience, but that's that minimum requirement that everyone must achieve. IT security, manual handling, potentially. These are small elements that are important that need to be done.
Yeah.
But that's where it stops for people who don't want anymore. So that's they need. So that can be a small element. And those people who want to progress, want to do more, want to learn, to your point, that's where that element of training becomes a bigger part of your life and career because you're constantly pushing. Now, the mix of that training and development, that's what can be very, very different for people. And I think getting the right mix is important. Online training has its place, but remembering that training and putting it into practice, I think, can sometimes be lost quite quickly after you finish your training. Right, done it. I can move on, forget about that. So I think there is a real important place for in-person training, not online. In groups sometimes. Practical learning, I think, is really, really important. How do you learn about what your boss does better than your boss showing you and telling you? And exposing you to that training. This is a proper day
So
in the life of.
and that means also having training across different seniority. So it's not just I don't know, the training for the juniors or the training for the seniors. Is that lived in practice today?
Absolutely, and that's what's good. And I suppose in the organisation I work with today, I have influence upon that as to what we do and listening to what our employees are saying about what works and what doesn't work. I mean, the leadership team can sit around the table and say, we think that should be done this way, but you're making a decision on behalf of the employees and different levels of employees. And bearing that in mind is difficult sometimes and important. I mean, horses for courses, some people require different training in different formats. And that's really difficult in exploring what people need and what they like. So it's a difficult balance.
Conscious that you might have given some of these answers already, but if you could summarize for you, where does development work well today and where does it fall short?
I think time and money are factors that are at play here, depending on what organisation you work for in terms of how much money you have, who you're owned by. If you're in a private equity and where you are in a cycle, these are all important things because money is often required especially for external training. Time is the other thing because you can offer training, but when you also require your employees to do the job that they're paid for, they start to say, well, can I not do the can I do the training within working hours? So now if you put a large team or everyone within the team on a training session that you give them working hours to do, then they're not as productive because they're not doing the work. So balancing, are you happy to do training but outside of working hours? And so this is a challenge as well. When you say, let's give training to everybody, all the same training, it takes away from the day job, which is ultimately what we're paid to do. So timing and money are big factors at play when we're talking about training.
That ties perfectly into the next question that I had, and it is really this. It's in one way, how do you see that the training is successful? Like, and in that sense, how do you defend a budget for training when at the same time we do talk about the time that people need to spend on it, and every time spent on training in that sense is also basically part of the budget or then money spent, especially in this podcast we talk a lot in professional services. It's often billable hours, so it's time allocated to a project, which also needs to have some form of return on an investment. How do you view a success in a training? Is there how would you measure it in that way? But then also, are there any current regulations or rules within the teams that you experienced throughout your career or right now that protect that time and say, okay, if Ivan and Julian spend time training now on this because we identified that is a need, ultimately they should be able to do their job better, faster, more confident, more secure, I don't know, whatever we want to look at, that then hopefully would, I guess, protect that time. And I think it's protecting that time that where it often falls short in many programs and in many businesses that I'm looking at.
Sure. In terms of training and return on investment and knowing whether the training's been successful, um, I think you can tell straight away as soon as you finish the training, and whether people are implementing some of those learnings, one of those learnings, straight away the next day. That's when it's successful. So, in a nutshell, that's the high level point is as people come out and say, "Oh my God, that's changed my world. Tomorrow, I'm going to do this differently," then already you've won. Now, how to prove that, substantiate that, the return on investment element, that can be more complex. And funnily enough, I implemented training in external organisation. Let's just call it soft skills. Soft skills particularly focused towards negotiation. And the introduction from the external provider was about ROI on it, and it was a bit fluffy and it wasn't very clear. And that was the only part I wasn't convinced about. But we went ahead with it anyway. The training was fantastic. The impact on the team that went on it, this was senior managers and above that went on it, and the impact was immediate. Straight away, the next day, people were already implementing the learnings, which is my point about knowing it was success. But we did a wash up, and I circled back around and had a call with all of the people who'd been on it and said, right, talking about return on investment, what have you done that maybe has had a financial reward for our organisation, because it cost a fair amount of money? Each, let's say, nearly 3/4 more of the people were able to give an example of how they did something in that week, only a week, that saved multiple times the amount of money we spent per head. And that was impressive. Wow. Exactly. And that was where we knew not just in behavioural impact, but financial.
So and on the flip side, so I'm going to a lot of conferences with L&D managers, and there's always a big discussion. How do I tell my boss that, or the board, or think that there is this return on investment? So I like that practical question that you just put in, which is ask them afterwards on that. But is that just one example, or do you guys have formalized that? So let's say you with the next external training provider you're working with, is that then a standard question that just comes into the questionnaire for the evaluation of that?
Yeah, it's always something we're looking at in business. Every business decision, we are weighing up the untangibles and then the financial impact. We always are. It's money being spent that could either be profit or directed in another area. So it's always important. I think we have a whole training academy, central function to look after training. But as I said about the organisation we're with, I'm able to influence and bringing ideas about what I feel my team or our teams need from an account management perspective. And that's why people are able to flexibly look at these things and think what would work best. Yeah. But we would always look at the return on investment. But some things aren't always as clear. And to your second point of the question, coming back to finding the time, did it benefit their job? This is the way up. Will it benefit their job tomorrow, make them more efficient? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. The return is much longer. It's maybe linked closer to retention, because the employee's just feeling valued by us investing time and money in them, and makes them more motivated the next day to do their job better. But it's not potentially directly related to whatever the training course was. It's just the fact that you feel valued. And then we have a training scheme called the Employee Development Program and the Manager Development Program, where they're interviewed and selected to be on this. Think of it like a graduate scheme in an organisation. To get onto it. And I remember someone said, "Oh, I got on the scheme. I feel valued already just getting on the scheme."
The scheme. I like that. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It does make a lot of sense. We all want to feel valued and appreciated, I guess, in that way, and recognized. I guess it's recognition and
I think that's the difference between sometimes the mandatory training you're forced to go on, you don't have an option, and saying, "I would like to learn something in this area that you're offering, and can I do it?" Yes, we can. It's not for everyone, but you can do it.
And I had somebody on the podcast that also spoke about that they in their communication, when they bring in a new program, they limit the spaces and they kind of make it exclusive. Not because it is exclusive or because of that is planned, but it makes the people feel basically better. So in case they would have more applications that they can give out, they would extend the program and be like, we brought you in. But essentially just saying that
Yeah.
it's exclusive, they get more applications for it. And then the people that are on it are also more happy on going through with it. So
Yeah,
instead of buying basically licenses for everyone, they were just like, no, we have 10 spots, 20 spots, first come, first serve, or I don't know, depending what challenge you put on that. It was very interesting to see.
The psychological impact of that, as you say, about being valued, and that's what we were talking about earlier, retention, ultimately retention and talent. Sometimes, retention, again, comes back money. I don't think it's a dirty word to talk about, okay? People want money. People leave sometimes for money. Sometimes it's the right decision, sometimes it's wrong. And you've got to see the bigger picture. And I had opportunities over the years to move if I wanted, but the value of, I know how much time and effort people have put into me. They value me. They've invested in me. Maybe it'll be later on down the line that I'll change job. But at the moment, I'm getting so much from this organization, and it might not be money. And that value is a real thing and does keep people in an organization.
No, absolutely. I want to look a bit in the future, or in the right now, which sometimes feels a bit we are in the future, essentially. Looking ahead 2 or 3 years, what do you think will matter? What skills will matter more than they do today? And what's driving that shift?
This is the time for the buzzword, isn't it? The AI buzzword is everywhere, in every conversation I'm having with clients, inside the organization with our employees. We may as well just nearly tick this one off. Yes, it's important. It's in our everyday lives. People are using, whatever, ChatGPT, whatever your preference, Copilot. People are using it in your everyday life. Now that it's mainstream, then it needs to be applied at work. And thankfully, we work with AI for our customer solutions, but we're also looking internally as to how can we make our employees more efficient. I think that's the key, is supporting people in their work, applying it at the right time, and not just blanketly saying, let's just get AI to do all of our work and trust it. So AI is the big thing, but I think what people are missing is the soft skills, the people elements to all of this. So where automation, where technology can support certain roles and tasks, that's great. But where humans are still involved in the chain, be it purchasing, selling, it doesn't do all of that for you yet. And therefore, those soft skills, those human interactions, these are really, really important. And I don't think we should lose sight of that. And even when we're talking about a very complex situation of technology and how fast it's evolving, being able to articulate that and explain it to people or teach people about it becomes even more important, because if not, people just get lost and left behind. So I think human interaction and those soft skills are going to be key alongside technology.
I think we agree on that, or share that kind of view on that. And it's also a shift of calling soft skills, I guess, now human skills, to differentiate further from the machine, let's say, in that end.
Absolutely.
And how is AI already changing the work in your teams today, even if it's in small ways then? And where do you think your organization is on a spectrum, where you, on the AI journey, let's say, we have curious, experimenting, starting to scale and scaling, just to get a bit of a feeling and understanding where organizations are today?
Yeah, we are using it now. We've implemented the policies, structure behind things around what's our preferred AI tool that's safe and secure for our organization. So that we can use our information that's confidential and not put it in the in the ether where people can see it. So I think that's important, to have those structures and security around it first, which we have, and now we're actively applying it. We are applying it to our day jobs to make us more efficient. As I talked about efficiency, that's how you should use it, in my opinion. Making our outputs a better quality. So improving emails we've written, the RFP responses, improving what we've written and not getting it done for us. making our time more efficient, also by speeding up the processes, the work that we're doing by applying AI and other softwares. So that's also important, and freeing up time for us to do the other bits that AI can't do, which again is our customer interactions and team interactions, doing more face-to-face things. We talked about development and making sure our employees are happy, and spending time with our customers to understand what they need. So that's just freeing up more of our time to put our efforts into the right places.
What are the biggest blockers you experience? Is it skills on using it? Is it trust and risk, which seems to maybe be out of the way now for the policies? Is it data quality, or what you put in, put out, or maybe lack of time of experimenting more with that? Do you see any of those?
Absolutely. I mean, all of the above, really. But it depends on the people and what their job role is and their appetite to change and their aspirations. So we talked about those people who are in a job and they've done their mandatory training or what have you, they're happy doing their job. And that's fine. We need people to just want to carry on do their job that they're good at. Other people who are looking to progress, they need different skills, they need different training. So that's what's difficult to assess what people need across the base. But being open to change is probably the most fundamental thing. There is something new out there. Do you want to learn about it? Yes, I do. So making that step, then comes the complexities of being taught something and learning something else, and being able to put all these different learnings together, or technology sometimes, and then applying the right tool. So the option. So really knowing about what's going on is really key, and you have to have people who are curious and interested. So you can tell them about
basically
what's going
champions.
On. Champions, yes,
and they can bring others on.
AI champions, technology champions, performance improvement champions. You can call it whatever you will. Some things are process, some things application of technology, but it's all the same mindset around being open to understand what's going on, and then understanding what works well for your role or for your ambitions, and applying that when necessary.
So looking ahead 6 to 12 months now for most teams, what should they prioritize? Spending time with the tool, spending time on training, finding clear use cases, doing more on the governance side of things, or is it maybe for the leader themselves to change their habit and lead by example?
I think governance and structure, especially in an organisation or a complex large organisation, is necessary to make sure people aren't just going off doing whatever they want that isn't in a safe and secure way. And in an age or an organisation where data and data security is paramount, I think there's maybe a progression. There's steps that need to be followed, and that's where that structure and governance and security comes first, and then it's guidance and learning, again, for the different people with different types of training and development that people need. So giving them options, but also giving them guidance around, this might be more relevant to what you're doing. You might want to look at this first, even if you think you want to be doing that. So let's just take baby steps and understand more about what we're doing. But all of the other things you said as well are necessary, and it will continue to be a juggling act.
Have you came across already yet an AI champion in the organization that were like, oh wow, Ivan, look, I built this. Have a look at that. That's what we could do.
I think we're lucky. Yes, 3 people come to mind straight away. One's an architect, one's UK head of solution design, and one's the global head of solution design. All of these people are constantly pushing the envelope. So whilst we're getting used to something that's they'll probably consider fairly basic and has been around for a long time, that a number of us will say, oh, it's only brand new and we're getting used to it. So yes, there are people that would blow my mind when I talk to them about what's up and coming, and what large language models can do these days, and we're just getting used to what I would say some people are even calling AI, but it's really just automation. And people are just using the buzzword and throwing it out there without really understanding the difference between the two and what things can do. But we're lucky. But we're, depending on how you define our organisation, technology company, data company, we're lucky that we have these people that are supporting us in our solutions. So, plenty.
Fantastic. But that also means that most people today, I guess, are not just there yet. And I think what we talk about is the difference between being AI literate and genuinely AI capable, I guess, or which means more like, did you come across those words and how to define them in your ways?
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, getting to know, just being aware of AI in general.
Yeah,
Again, it's quite broad about what that means. But as I said, in our everyday usage now, we're aware of that element of AI. But there are so many different tools out there that is changing so
yeah,
quickly. To keep abreast of the changes is difficult. But then it's about understanding what's out there in all their different capacities, all these different um, applications that can be used, and picking the right one for what you
one,
need, which again comes
yeah,
back to being open and understanding about what's out there. So then
yeah,
I think that's probably for me the difference between
yeah,
AI literate and AI capable. So you
yeah,
understand it's out there and you're open to using it and good, but truly understanding all of the different types and then being able to select like a tool belt, if you like, and
yeah,
selecting the tool belt for the right problem and even identifying the problem, which isn't anything to do with AI, but understanding what you need to achieve and
yeah.
then understanding whether it's a people, process, or technology, solution that you're looking for, or a combination of the three normally.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And if you had then to name one meta skill that makes all others work better, what would it be and why?
Adaptability again encompasses that being open, understanding different things, being willing, but adapting to how the world changes. And it won't just be
Yeah,
this new shift on AI at the moment. There's going to be another shift soon again, and another one. So
yeah,
you're always met with different changes, and it's whether you embrace this change and adapt to
yeah.
it that you'll be
That,
successful. And if you are the laggard, the last mover, then you're going to be left behind. And it could be anything that you're left behind. So,
yeah,
so keeping abreast of these changes, and that's like as we talked about learning. If
yeah.
you stop learning, I know it's a bit of a cliche, but if you're not willing to jump in and understand about something new, then you might be the person left behind as the only one not willing
Yeah,
to learn, and then it's too late.
yeah. Have you thought about then already formalizing this kind of new way of training or moving people from literacy to capability essentially through practice, peer learning? We talked about it, mentoring. Are there things in place now that you guys thinking about how to roll that out from the three people you mentioned to the rest?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what we're doing currently. So I mentioned earlier about the EDP, MDP schemes, Management
Yeah,
Development Program, Employee Development Program, and part of we also give them a project, so they have learnings themselves,
amazing.
but
Yeah,
they are on a project also, and we focus them on AI and AI learning and what people need. So I've already seen, they did a survey actually about that sent to everybody and said, 15, 16 questions that you could just give us your insights and your thoughts completely anonymously,
yeah,
just about what you need, how comfortable you are with it, what do you think you
yeah.
require. So they're actively gathering so that we can do more. But we've already put groups of employees on
Nice.
an AI training program. There's an externally run one, so that they're upskilled to be able to support the work that they're doing today. So we're doing that, but it's
Amazing. Yeah,
actively being discussed all of the time in our leadership meetings around what we
yeah,
should be doing, what can we do, how do we support our employees, how do we make sure that we are pushing the envelope
yeah.
and that we aren't left behind, because a lot of organisations talk about doing things and AI and being AI, capable, but that's where it stops, and it does require the time, the effort, and the money to go
To invest
behind.
in that.
Are we really
Yeah,
doing this? What are our
yeah,
actions and
yeah,
executing on things that we discuss?
yeah. No, well, fantastic to hear that there's a lot of movement already in your
Mm.
end. I want to shift the conversation now a little bit to purpose and impact, essentially. Well, also some of the things that, of course, on our mind. And we talked earlier already a little bit about when it comes to retention, or that, well, money is really important, but it's also more the values, I guess, within the business and how it's lived. When you hear the words purpose, social value, social impact, what do they mean in practice to you?
Yeah, I think it comes back to something I was talking about, kind of responsibility.
Yeah.
When you've moved up an organisation and you have more influence on an organisation, I think this is where it comes back to where you feel you have a responsibility, and therefore you have a responsibility to give back essentially to society where you can. So we employ people, we deliver a service, a solution. That's great. We are an organisation, so we are trying to make money as well, but doing so in a responsible way, and therefore also helping the community that we're operating in. Everybody's part of their own community. So what can we give back, and what can we do? And we're really getting a lot better. I think we were maybe slow in adopting this, let's say 5 years ago, but in the last 5 years we've made fantastic progress, not just in our diversity and inclusion groups, and understanding about what our employees do outside of work, what they're involved in, but also, again, supporting people into the workforce. We work with a charity, Central London Borough. It was actually a charity I worked with a long time ago, that help people with mental disabilities get work experience, because people in the community are struggling to get a job. It's very competitive out there. And if you have dyslexia, if you have autism, ADHD, sometimes the traditional interviews just aren't very accessible to people. And they don't have experience also to rely upon on their CV. So if they can't get one without the other, how are they going to get a job? So we're actively working with charities, and we're able to support learning and apprenticeships and so on and so forth. So we're doing a lot better at it. And I'm glad we are, because it's the right thing to do. It sounds simple, but it is the right thing to do. And when we can, we should do it.
And how does that relationship with these nonprofits work? Is it selected basically by the employees that say, okay, this is the nonprofit we want to work for this year, or was it? How does that come about? And then what's the relationship with the nonprofit? Are you guys mostly involved with providing donation, or how? Or you basically take also the interviews from those employees or from those people in the program to do internships with you guys?
Yeah, well, we work with different charities, and we try and raise money for different charities, doing different corporate events and cake bake-offs and so on and so forth for different charities. And because of the diversity groups that we have, they also run their own schemes to make money and impact whichever group they're looking to support, be it mental health, be it women at work, be it so on and so forth. There's lots of them. So we do different things with charities, but also, as I said, this one was slightly different because it wasn't just about giving money, it's about giving time, it's giving knowledge, it's giving access to our organisation. So this particular organisation, we select sites in conjunction with the charity to select the right site, with the right support network and the right team, to have these often young people with disabilities coming in to get work experience. And our people, it comes back to our people are fantastic, because we can come up with a concept and say we'd like to work with someone, but the employees in our organisation are the people often that are doing the doing. After we've said we'll work with the charity, they support these young people at work every day. Sometimes you have situations where they're not looking after themselves in terms of cleanliness and so on and so forth, and our employees are just going, the extra steps and saying, oh, I brought in a towel and soap and stuff so they can shower at work. I've brought in a tie for them. Oh, my son's roughly the same size. I've brought in a shirt for them to wear. So they've got 2 shirts. They're these little things that you don't realise is happening. But that's our employees really doing the real world stuff after we've agreed to work with the charity. But so we go through a process to make sure that these people are in the right place, and we can support them, we can give them the experience. And we get a lot back from it as well.
Amazing.
It's great about it.
And do you see a link between meaningful contribution, engagement, performance, or even retention then with the employees as the company went through that change maybe in the last 5 years?
I think our retention has been pretty good, even over the last 5 years. I don't think it's something we've suffered with, and I hope that's down to the culture of the organisation.
Yeah.
But I think therefore it just compounds it with what we're doing these days. So I can't really answer it, definitely around whether it's impacted the retention rates even further. But I just know from feedback from employees, from people, from the teams that just say, "Oh, we love doing it. We love supporting it." They're proud
Yeah.
that we are helping them support other people. It's just providing that facility to do it. So they maybe didn't have the idea of, can I work with this charity? Can I bring people in? But when the opportunity is there, they grab hold of it and they get the benefit out of it as well. And they like to help people. So it's down to, again, the culture of people wanting to do more. And I think that does help them feel even more valued in the community because they know they're doing a good thing and they're helping out. And also they can bring new ideas to the table. I think that helps them say, hey, I've got a new idea. Can I bring that to the table? And we can say, yeah, let's discuss it.
Yeah, I really like the last bit of bringing in also a new perspective. It's always good to just look outside of your day to day in what's happening.
Yeah. And I think that's good leaders are people who listen. Being a leader doesn't mean that you have all the best ideas and have all of the answers. It's about listening to the contributions that everybody has and say, that's a great idea. You're a specialist here. Diversity of thought, right? We're all different, and therefore you've got a different idea. So embracing that is, I think, fundamental to everything we do.
And with that, I think we can move to our last part, which is our quick fire. So short answers are perfect. It can be a word. It can be one sentence. Just shoot, essentially. Right. What do great leaders do more than anyone else?
Well, that's good, because that's what I was implying before. I think listening, I think that's probably a bit odd, but listening to what's going on around them, to specialists, to people.
What's one talent mistake organizations keep making?
Online learning.
What's the biggest leadership mistake you've made, and what did it teach you?
Not being self-aware enough. And, failed. People have got the wrong perception of me. I've come across in the wrong way. It's hindered me. I've had feedback around that was a mistake. So that's absolutely the one thing, and that's what we were discussing before. So yeah, self-awareness and being open to feedback.
What's one thing you would stop doing in employee development tomorrow?
Forcing people into development and learnings when they don't want to, and just establishing people aren't all open to the same thing.
What's one thing you would double down on?
Good training, the thing that works well.
In 2026, the most valuable skill at work will be?
One, openness to change.
Magic wand question. If you could change one thing about your organization, grow people, what would you change? In the industry, basically across the business, doesn't need to be.
Having more time. If we all had more time, we'd be able to do so much more and relook at learning and development so much more. But
time. I like that. Last question. What's a belief about leadership or talent that you've changed your mind about in the last couple of years?
That I've changed my mind about. I can't actually say that anything comes to mind that I've changed my opinion of. I think I've maybe been around the block a little bit, and and my views on things haven't really changed in the last couple of years.
Fantastic. Ivan, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this conversation. Thanks so much for sharing so openly about your experiences, about the way you see learning and development. I think there's a lot of things that I can take away from this, and I hope so our listeners as well. And if people after this episode feel like, oh wow, Ivan, I want to connect with you. There were some things that I thought related with me, or that I just want to learn a little bit more about. How can they get in touch?
Sure. There is my LinkedIn, Ivan Gladkow. There's not many Ivan Gladkows on LinkedIn, but SPS Global is our organisation. It's great organisation to look into. But thank you very much for your time. It's been a pleasure. I hope I've said the odd thing that's of interest to people or to yourself. So thank you again for inviting me.
I'm sure you did. And if you're listening and enjoyed this episode, please follow the show and share it with anyone who cares about building teams that stay and thrive. Yeah, and a quick note at the end, why do we run Talent Talks? At Be Impact, we focus on the big challenge leaders are facing right now, the AI transition. And most organizations don't just need people who can use the AI tools, they need people who can work well around AI, communicate clearly, frame problems, apply judgment, and influence stakeholders and take accountability. And we believe those human skills really decide whether AI creates value or chaos. And that's where we come in and help by supporting organizations to build AI champions and by using teaching as a way to turn learning into real capabilities. So yeah, thanks again, Ivan. It was a real pleasure having you on Talent Talks.
Thank you.